you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Slump. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the fall!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Leur 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs!
And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. LaBita.tb. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast on this Friday, November 3rd. It is 2 minutes past 10 p.m. Eastern Time. I hope you're all doing well, and I thank you all for watching the Sick Podcast, which you're watching live on YouTube, live on Facebook, and live on Twitter. And once again, it's brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group. It's brought to you in part by Playground, and it's brought to you in part by LaBita.tb. We'll talk to you about those great partners of ours a little bit later on in the podcast. We have a busy one as two gentlemen are set to join us for the first 30 or 40 minutes or so. And maybe it should be 30, but he loves to talk hockey so much. Why? Because he loves the game so much. He's so much in demand because everyone can feel and sense and hear his passion when he talks about the game. So you see him on TV, you see him on radio. I kind of felt guilty because they played 2 games in the last 2 nights. Tonight's a night off. They're back at it tomorrow. I sent them a text message earlier today, and I said, it's a bad day for you today. You are way too interesting a hockey person, and I need to have you on my podcast tonight. And he answered back, okay. And here he is. They call him the Bear. He is the head coach of the Arizona Coyotes. Andre Tourigny, bonsoir, mon ami. Comment ça va?
Ça va bien, toi, Tony? T'es en forme?
Très en forme, mais pas vraiment en forme physiquement, mais en forme au niveau de l'énergie, oui. Oui, toi, comment ça va? How are you doing?
Very good, very good. It's a great day today. It's a day off for us, so I had a little bit of time for myself, so that was good.
All right, so, you're so busy and you're working all the time. I'm wondering what you do when you have a day off. Let's just say you just played 2 games in 2 nights, and it's a day off.
Yeah.
Don't tell me you get in front of your iPad or you get in front of your computer and you're still watching game tape. Don't tell me.
Well, I can tell you right now, New Jersey just hit the post against St. Louis in the 2-1 game. I'm watching that game, but we're playing tomorrow afternoon at 1, so I had to work today. Don't you ever detach during the hockey season? No, not much. And I like it that way, Tony. It happened when I'm tired. I want to be able to rest, have a later morning and having maybe a nap in the afternoon, that kind of stuff. But the rest of the day, I will most likely work on either the next game or there's now all the advanced stats.
Yeah,
you need to study it. It's not just about taking a quick peek. Look at it, and when you take your coffee, you need to go a little bit deeper to understand the numbers. I look at the numbers every day, but in a day like today, you're looking a little bit more in depth. Okay, why our number in this area are not good enough, or why St. Louis are that good at doing this, or what's Montreal do special to be that good at this, or whatever it is. So you look the number, and then after you need to dig in a little bit and say, okay, why Philadelphia is that good at this blocking shot example? Is it really? It's for sure related to willingness and stuff, but is there something in their structure who allowed them to be a little bit more in the shooting lane versus what we're doing? So you always have to try to put that in perspective and look at how we can improve.
So you answered some of my question, I think, in terms of looking at those analytics, looking at some of those advanced stats. But if you can, give us an idea for all of us watching of what a typical day is like on an off day, and which is today, and what a typical day will be like tomorrow on a game day. And I basically want to know what time you get up, what time you make your way over to the rink, who you have meetings with, what you go over, how much video you watch, what information is available to you. Take me through all of it if you can.
Yeah, but there's 3 different days. There's the game day. There's a day off, which today is a day off, meaning the player are not coming at the ring. There's nobody at the ring. Or there's the practice day. You know, example, today's a day off, so I woke up a little bit later, and then I just went for a walk, and then after I did my game, I reviewed last night's game, and this afternoon I answered a few emails and did my stuff, and I watched hockey tonight. So that's not too busy. I as well prepared I read the Winnipeg Analytic report. We're playing tomorrow, so what's their strength, their weakness, and what can we do against that? So that was my day today. Tomorrow morning, again, it's a weird day, but let's say we were playing at night. I will be at the ring around 7 a.m. and then I will review a few of our last game clip I want to present to the team. I will the way I do it is after a game, example, I review all the game. We have a lot of topics, and we pick 3. We say, okay, we'll review 3 with the team. There's 3 topics we'll talk. 2 on non-game day, where we'll be more teaching. Example, you want to review stuff on your D zone. Want to review where you really struggle on a few detail or whatever it is, and you can have let's say the breakout, whatever. And that will be on non-game day. Will be before practice. We'll do that. On game day, I will take the more positive thing we want to review, kind of maybe reinforce how important is the read of our second guy on the forecheck or whatever the detail or the point, and that will be on game day. Whoa,
that's
sorry.
Okay. You can pick it up there. I don't know what it was, but go for it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about
That's my AirPod.
It's okay. Hey, listen, I know you're not in the biggest hockey market in the world. Yeah. Having said that, do you get recognized when you go grocery store or whatever?
No, not much. No, there's some people know, but it's rare. Though. It's really rare. To finish on the typical day is if example, it's not a game day. The day will start around 5 a.m. So we'll get at the ring around 5 a.m. and the player will arrive at the ring we'll start around 8:30. We have a meeting at 9:30. So the guy will arrive around 8:30, have breakfast. So us, the coach, we meet at 7:30. So when we say meet, example, Mario Duhamel is responsible of the D zone, offensively, defensively.
Yeah.
John Madden is the neutral zone, and Blaine Forsythe is the offensive zone. So each of them will have video they want to share with the group of coach on each of their zones. So that will be at 7:30 in the morning. 7:30 in the morning, we'll review that. Then we decide, okay, what do we present? What's like I said, the topic we want to present today? The team will pick 2. We'll present that at 9:30. We'll explain the practice. Then at 11, we're on the ice. After the 9:30 meeting, we'll most likely we'll have individual meeting. Example, I will meet with Deadline or with this guy or whatever. Every day I want to make sure I do that. Whatever, if it's big deal or no big deal, sometimes just a touch base. Hey, how are you doing? What do you think of your role? Stuff like that. And then after practice, that's where we will look at for the opponent. So we'll review the practice, talk about the practice, how it went, and stuff like that. Bill Armstrong will pop by after the practice. We'll talk about the practice. We'll talk about tomorrow's lineup, stuff like that. And us, the coaches, will start to work on our opponent. So who's the next opponent, what they do right, and everything. And we'll finish the next morning on the day of the game. So that's a little bit our daily routine.
5-4-1 for your Arizona Coyotes, 3rd in the Central Division, 7th in the Western Conference, going into the games tonight. I have to tell you, as much as you're a good coach and as much as you know I like you, count me among those who are surprised. So if I would have told you going into the season that after 10 games you'd be 5-4-1, what would you have told me?
I don't know. Honestly, it's we really like our training camp. We really like there's a few players, as much as you know them, when they're on your team, you learn to know them better. You know their real value. And Zucker was one of them, and I will say Kerfoot is another of them, where okay, they're pretty good. They're a really good player. They really improve the value. The other thing you don't know during the summer is, okay, Liam O'Brien has a really good start. He's, people in Montreal say, well, okay, he's still a fourth line guy. Yeah, but it's a fourth line guy who has such a good start. Him and McBain and Kerfoot together, they can play against the top 6 player every night and be a plus player. So that changed a lot of things, because now that changed your matchup, that changed how you can use your best player. That change of the fact of I can some night use Keller, Hayton, and then Schmaltz against a third and a fourth line, because I'm not afraid of my fourth line playing against the top 6 line on the other side. So that changed a lot of things. So it's not necessarily something I will tell you we will be able to do that during the summer, but it's actually something we're doing right now. So that helped a lot. And the performance of our goaltender as well, a little bit. Montreal, their goaltending it's phenomenal so far.
Yeah.
But ours is pretty good as well.
All right. So what do you want to see from your fourth line? I know you said your fourth line can play against the top 6 of any other team. So that changes a lot of things up in terms of the matchups. But, back in the 90s, I'll take you to the crash line in New Jersey. It was a line that would hit, that would try and change the momentum of a hockey game. And then up until a couple of years ago, we started to see even good players, skilled players, teams try and balance their lines. And the fourth line would be a line that could really play hockey. Has it gone back to what it was? Is it what it is now? Is it a hybrid? What do you look for in a fourth line in terms of the composition of it?
Yeah, that's a good point, Tony. I think personally, you want each of your line to have an identity. So whatever they can be, they need to be special at something. It can be a shutdown line where it's elite defensively. That's great. That's perfect. That's a good fourth line. Can be a fourth line who can generate enough offense. Let's say Seattle last year with guys like Daniel Sprong on the fourth line, and I think everybody on the fourth line had at least 10 goals. Okay, it's a fourth line who can contribute offensively. They have something special. Or you can have the fourth line of the New York Islanders, and this fourth line is together for I think 10 years, which is like Martin and Clutterberg, which they bring momentum. They're really good defensively. They're physical. They grind the opponent. So they are really good at something. What you don't want is having a fourth line who's vanilla. If you look last year, example in Tampa Bay when they had Belmar, Perry, and Maroon. Okay, they have size, they have toughness, they're not fun to play against, they're experienced. Okay, they have something. What you don't want is a fourth line where it's 3 NHL players together. What's their strength?
Yeah,
they have no identity. They're an NHL player, but they have nothing as a line. So for us, if you look O'Brien, McBain, and Kerfoot, McBain and Kerfoot and Obi are 3 guys who are playing on our PK. They're 3. McBain and O'Brien are really physical. They're tough. They can fight at any time in the game. They hit hard. Kerfoot is a guy who has a lot of pace and a lot of experience. He's more than a fourth line guy, but right now that allowed us, like I said earlier, put Kerfoot with them, allowed us to play them against the top 6 or top 9, and that free up some. I got some loose as a coach to use Logan Cooley whatever I want.
Yeah,
I don't have to use Cools against the top 6. Now
you don't have to worry about matching lines, changing on the fly, and when you're on the road.
Exactly.
I got it. Yeah.
So I don't have to cut the momentum of our best player. I can
rhythm.
Just get some rhythm. And the night Logan, because a young player can struggle, that's not a problem. I will be able to play him against someone who he will be able to perform. Which if we didn't have a fourth line who excel like that, now you have to expose the young Cools maybe playing against a top 6, and that can be tough some nights. Some nights it can be perfect, but some nights can be tough.
Yeah, growing pains for sure. It's the best league in the world, right? I love that you mentioned that kid, because I love that kid, and we're going to get to him at one point here. But safe to say, a year ago, let's go back 1 year. A year ago, your team was in a rebuild?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. 1 year later, today, November 3rd, when you went into the season this year, you talked about your good training camp. What was your message to your team when you sat down with your general manager? Did you say to your general manager, I think we're ready to turn the corner. Did he say to you, I think we're ready to turn the corner? Did you both say to the players, I think we're ready to turn the corner, or are you still in a rebuild? What's the story?
Oh, we think we're, the way Billy put it, and I agree with him, we're phase 2. We're not at the stage we're a contender, or we are kind of a team who's locked for the playoff, or we're kind of team who wants to go and say, hey, our goal is to make the playoff. We're not there yet. We just want to be better than last year, grow, see our young player grow, be competitive. The language we use is we want to play meaningful game after the All-Star break. We want to be in it. We want to be either in it or chasing it, but be close enough where we get that experience as an organization of playing on the edge and winning big game, or the reverse, losing a big game and really have this thing of, oh, that hurt. And, we want to have that kind of experience inside of our organization. Having that said, we won't for sure put a lid on what we want to do. We just know we can win the game every night. We knew we could win yesterday. We knew we could win in Anaheim. Obviously we didn't. So we knew that. So we want to make sure we're heading in that direction again tomorrow. We're playing Winnipeg. It's a good team. They're heavy. We want to win that game. And from there, we'll see what happens.
We're not there yet, and it's a hypothetical question, so maybe there's no answer to it because we're not there yet, but I'm going to ask it anyway, okay? What if trade deadline is next week, and you're in a playoff spot? You, the coach, is going to want to make the playoffs, and you would love to have some additional help. The general manager has to think of, I'm not so sure I want to trade a draft pick or draft picks and or a prospect to get immediate help because I don't think we have the team to contend for the Stanley Cup. But others have another school of thought, which is once you get in, everyone's got a shot, right?
Yeah.
Do you think, it's a hypothetical, but do you think that if trade deadline was next week, that you guys your general manager would go out and try and do something to put the team over the top, or you would stick to the plan and make it all happen organically?
I think we will stick to the plan because that's what Billy and I believed in. I think that doesn't mean we will not improve the team. Will we be all in? No, I'm sure not. Will we trade Dylan Gunter to improve? I will vote against whoever we can get. I think Guns is part of the future. If we want to win the championship, Gunner will be a part of it. Or if it's, I don't know as much Shimashev and Boot we dropped this year because they could not be at the camp, so I cannot talk about those guys. But whoever it is, it will not be my decision, and it's always who you can get, the number of year, the age of this guy, whatever. But I don't think we are I'm sure we're not in all-in situation. I think that said, I think, Tony, that is not something in the media. It happened overnight, but not in the real life. You know what I mean? We'll see. And American Thanksgiving. Okay, we'll see what's the picture. There's a not Bill Armstrong, not my GM, a GM on another team when we had the league meeting this year in September. He told me, he said that Thanksgiving is really important because he said that's where everybody start to take a direction. And he reminds me one of his year when he was GM, he said at Thanksgiving we were out of it. And then I started to make phone calls and prepare for getting some asset and everything. And he said, suddenly your team started to play better. But he said, all your meeting, all your prep was about that is what would be the plan. It would be maybe to trade one or two guys and get some draft pick and everything. And suddenly you have a good month, an example in February. And now you're not as ready as to go in the different direction because your plan for the last 2-3 months was in one direction, the schedule of your pro scout and everything. So that date is pretty important. It's not impossible to change your direction. The St. Louis Blues did a couple of years ago, but most likely when you what Americans Thanksgiving, which team will be seller and which team will be buyer.
Yeah. Do you believe in the window of when the window is to win? And What does that mean exactly? Does that mean that your best players have to be 28, or you believe your best players can be 32? Do you believe a team that's going to win the Stanley Cup one day has to have a mix of players that are very young, some who are veterans who are in their 30s, some who are in the prime of their career that are in their mid-20s? And what elements do you believe a Stanley Cup winning team will have?
Well, that's a really good question, Tony, but I will tell you what I believe in that. I think you need entry-level contract who deliver way above what they are paid. You know what I mean? You need or the Brendan Hagel or the Nick Paul who are on a low cap contract, but they will get paid, but they're not yet. So that allowed you to go over the edge. I really believe what makes the difference when you talk about your window is in the NHL, let's say a player worth between whatever, 3.5 million and 4.6. Okay, he worth, let's say 3.5 to 4.5. He worth that. You agree with that. I agree with that. The industry agree with that. If you pay him 4.5, your chance to win are really low. Because at the end of the day, what you need is most talent you can get for whatever the cap is, 82 million.
Best bang for your buck.
That's what makes the difference at the end of the day. When we all agree this guy worth 4.5. We all agree.
Yeah.
And if you give him 4.5 and all of your players like that in your team are paid what they're worth, but they are they're paid at the high end of what they're worth, it's tough to accumulate enough good player in your team to win. So you need some guys who are paid at the low end of what they worth. I'm not saying they should be underpaid. That is no good as well. I don't want any guys on my team who's not treated right. But if they are paid, like I said, if a player worth between 3.5 and 4.5 and you get somewhere between 3 and 3.75, now you have a chance to win. Now you have a chance to win. If you have many of those guys in your team, it's one or two more good players in your team, and that will put you over the edge. That will make your third pairing of defensemen or your third line better or whatever it is, and now you have the window is there. When you start to have guys who make, I won't say too much money because they worth that money. If they get that money, it's because they worth that. But if they're let's put it that way, if they are at the high end of what they're worth, it's tough to accumulate enough good players in your team to win.
In pro sports, mostly hockey and soccer, because other sports have a little bit of they're a different kind of situation. I'm going to explain, right? You have coaches who some are offensive minded with offensive ideologies. Some are defensive minded with defensive ideologies. So some might come in, preach offense, and this is the way I want us to play. We're going to play like this all the time. We're going to work on our game, and we're not going to adjust to the opponent. If we play our game, we're going to be fine. Others say, hey, you know what? I think we got to win with defense, and we probably don't have the team on paper. We're going to be a very defensive-minded team, the Lemaire teams, the Hitchcock teams of the past, and all that stuff. And other coaches are kind of like generalists, right? They kind of work on different aspects. They do have their style of play, but you know what? If they're up 2-1 in the third period, instead of going for that third goal, they're going to try and clamp down with probably 10 minutes left or 5 minutes left and try whatever. Where do you see yourself? In which category do you fall in? Offensive minded, defensive minded, generalist, who basically
I don't. It's a good question.
Does it make sense what I'm saying, or?
Oh, yeah, yes and no. I think it's
the story of my life. Yes and no.
In the sense of, I think that is old school. I think Michel Bergeron was a motivator. Jacques Demers was a motivator. You can say Jacques Lemaire was a defensive coach. I think that doesn't work anymore.
Oh, really?
How will you coach Austin Matthews if it's all about defense in your team? How will he buy in? What do you do with McDavid if you have McDavid?
They're going to be miserable. They're not going to like playing that kind of system because these guys like to score goals and they have the ability to do so.
So Dave Tippett is known for a good defensive coach, but he was capable of having a system where allowed a guy like McDavid and Draisaitl to perform and everything. I think now the hockey improved. Yeah. You know, I like to say I have 4 head coach with me. We're four head coach here. Mario Duhamel has been head coach. John Madden has been a head coach. Blaine Forsythe's 13 years in the league. He's won Stanley Cup. Never been a head coach in our league, but he's a really good hockey guy. I think I'm an offensive-minded guy. No doubt about it. Everybody who know me know I like defense. But since I've been with Pat in Colorado and Adam Foote sit with me almost on my knee, on my lap every day, I know the value of defense, and I know how important is defense, and I put a lot of time and a premium on defense. But, the way I see the game for me is I want to be that good defensively because I won the puck. Because for me, it's all about I won the puck. That's everything I do. If you tell me, okay, we won't have the puck, it's tough for me to be motivated as a player or even as a coach. I want us to play with the puck. The pace we have as a team, I think it's pretty good. And the reason why we apply a lot of pressure in the puck carrier because we want to disturb their timing because we want to recover pucks. Well, I talk a lot about loose puck recovery because I won the puck. There's a lot of 50-50 battle in our system because I want to recover the puck. I want the puck. So I'm an offensive guy, but if someone say I'm not putting priority on defense, that's full of crap. That's not true. I spend a lot of time. It's like Patty Roy. Patty Roy, is he an offensive guy or defensive guy?
Patty Roy, is he an offensive guy or a defensive guy? I would say, based on the way his Rampart scored, I would say he was an offensive guy. But based on the way he coached in Colorado, I would say he was probably more into defense at the time. He's
a guy who will let a lot of creativity to explore offensively, but he's a guy who will talk about defense 80% of the time. And if you ask Patty, for him, it's all about offense, he says. But when I was working with him, we were talking about forecheck, we're talking about tracking, we're talking about diesel. We're not talking that much about, we were not talking about the rush. We're not talking about those things. We're talking about defense way more. And his point was, I love offense. We need the puck. We need to be good without the puck so we can play with the puck. And I agree with him. I think Patty described himself as an offensive guy. And when I coached with him, I can say he was insisting a lot on defense all the time. He's still an offensive-minded guy.
I like what you said about the way you coach, and I like what you said when you brought up the McDavid and Matthews, and there's no doubt about it, right? Hockey players want to be in an environment where they can produce, they can score goals, they can put up points. That makes them happy, and you want your players to be happy. But what 100%. Would you say a rebuilding team says where we haven't even practiced defensive schemes, defensive concepts yet because we want to play offensive hockey, introduce those offensive concepts, and master those before we can move on to the next step?
And I'm afraid about that being a trap question. Is there someone who said that? And I will make a comment, and people will say, comment about this team.
I have way too much respect for you to actually lie to you. So yes, it is something that for the most part, that Marty St. Louis said earlier this season. But I think you said that as much as you like offense and preach offense, you are going to pay attention to a lot of defensive schemes and defensive structure as well.
Absolutely. I take a lot of pride in that because if you want to torture me, give the puck at the other team all game. I like offense. If we don't have the puck, if you don't put a puck in the ice, don't invite me to go play hockey in your league. I'm not going. I'm not going. I'm not going to skate around. I'm not going in a free public skating. That's not happening. I need a puck, and I need to have the puck. And if we play in the beer league together, Tony, and our team doesn't have the puck, that's the last year. I can guarantee you that. I'm not going back. I won the puck. So that's the way I think player likes it. When they can have the puck, they can play offensively. Having that said, we need to get organized defensively if we want to recover the puck. And, I don't know what Marty says and everything, but I will say this. The comment he made after the game about our team, because my son sent it to me, is they needed to place the puck behind the goal line and play below the goal line to keep the puck away from their zone. If that's not defense, that's what it is. He didn't want to put pucks behind our defensemen and get the forecheck to make sure we keep us away from their zone. So that's a little bit the way I like to think about defense. When we have the puck in the offensive zone, we try to create a lot of possession because that, one, it's fun. Two, we have the puck in their zone. We're not giving up any goal. I guarantee.
And the key number, the first key to possession, of course, you win the face-off.
Yeah, absolutely. And Montreal this year, they do a really good. Yesterday, the number of face-off their wingers won for their center. It's unbelievable.
Oh, really?
The
wingers, yeah.
Their wingers won a lot of 50-50 battle, a lot of loose pucks, where put us in trouble. We had to dig in and really double down on that because we were getting abused.
The centerman that's doing a masterclass right now for the Canadians at winning faceoffs is Monahan. He's been absolutely fantastic this year. Monahan has really has.
He was really good yesterday as well. I will tell you that. That was the player yesterday. Was wow, this guy really played a really solid game.
So since your son is sending you clips, you would know that there's a clip that you had in a scrum yesterday with members of the media there that made its way back to Montreal and Quebec because Andre Tourigny, for the most part, said the National Hockey League is not a development league. All right?
Yep.
What you said yesterday, probably 99% of coaches and general managers have said over the history of time, the National Hockey League is a production league. It's a winning league. It's not a development league. You develop in other leagues. You develop in college. You develop in the American Hockey League. You develop in Europe. You don't develop in the National Hockey League. Elaborate on that for me if you can. So, let me ask you this way. So let's say you are in the National Hockey League. Okay. And yes, you will know where I'm going with this. So I'm going to be transparent with you. But since you opened up that thing yesterday, you are in the National Hockey League. Let's say you're a team that is in a rebuild and everyone knows it. Can you make it a development league, seeing as, yes, you want to win games, but at the end of the day, if you don't, it's pas fin du monde. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, but you need to try to be the best as you can every day. Okay, development, you need to develop player. We agree?
Yeah.
You need to develop your culture as well. What kind of culture are you developing if you're not trying to be the best version of yourself every day? You think you will build a shitty culture and bringing young player in it, and then when those guys will be ready to be good, your culture will become good?
How about if the winning culture is that you get better every day? Does that make sense?
Okay. I will put you in another situation.
Tell me.
I will put you in a situation where you cannot perform. You're the worst guy of your group every day because you lack of experience. You're doing something. You're not aware of all the ins and outs of the job and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And you're living with those guys every day.
Mm-hmm.
And now, because of your performance, the performance of those guys is affected. This guy who has a contract, who make $3.1 million a year, is now minus 12 because he's playing with you and is carrying you in the sense of you're making mistake you should not make at that level, in that league. And now with my 3.1 million, I'm minus 12, and instead to have 20 points in 55 games, I have 12. And now Tony Marinaro go on air and say, I'm not doing my job. I'm way overpaid, and $3 million, I should be better, and this and that. And now my wife is wondering what's going on with you. My agent is wondering if I train hard enough during the summer, and the fans are whispering, and I hear the whispering right and left. How does that affect me to play with this guy who will be good in 4 years when I'm 32 years old right now?
That's a great point, because I know what you're saying. Everyone wants the best for everyone, but not at their expense either, right? So it can create some dissension within either the group or your teammates, because basically the player who's weaker says, I can get better practicing with these guys every day, but the players who are playing with them have to take a bullet for him every day.
Exactly. And now the organization, they say, okay, we'll give you one more year at 3.1 million bear. We'll have your back. No,
they probably won't.
I'm 30. No, because They want to go with the young guys. So now you're asking me to take the bullet, and on top of it, that will cost my job next year. And you want me to bring the kid at the restaurant and show him the ins and outs of the job and making sure I'm positive with him every day and all of it. Even if I'm a really good guy and I'm doing it, do you think the young guy is an idiot?
When he
do you
looks
think
at,
he doesn't?
when he looks in the mirror in the morning, he knows. He knows.
And
Yeah.
when he arrives at night and his line is -2 because he could not get the puck out, because he misses assignment in the tracking, because he didn't get his bump on the face-off, because he got beat at the 1-on-1, even if I go see him and they say, hey, don't worry about it, that stuff happened, that's just a bad day, have a good night, and let's get back at it tomorrow. Do you think the kid will get home and will say, oh, Barrett's such a good guy, no big deal, he's not mad at me? No,
Or the line's Corsi is 13% and they get hemmed into their zone. He knows.
Exactly. And even if I'm the best guy, I'm taking care of him, I'm doing my job, and I understand it's my last year. I'm stopped playing anyway next year, so I'm happy to help him, okay? I'm happy. You find the best veteran in the world. Okay, great. Still, the kid get home, and he's going to see his Corsi, and he's going to see his advanced stats, and he's 622nd in the league. You think that's good for his development? You think he's going and say, I will be a hell of a player? You think he doesn't doubt himself? You think he doesn't say, what the hell am I doing? Will I be able to do it in a year or 2 years or whatever? And now he's starting to have a list. I need to get better at this. I need to get better at that. I need to get better at this. I need to get stronger. I need to get faster. Now he stayed on the ice for an hour after practice. Now he has tough time to say. That is good for his development. That is great for his development. We don't have the same definition of what's great for development.
Perfect. So
because inside of a team, the people who've never been there, they need to understand all those guys in the NHL, they take that really seriously. They're professional. They want to deliver. They want to deliver for the contract they have, or they want to get a better contract, or they want to have another contract. There's nobody who show up at the ring and say, whatever. If we have a great day, we have a great day. If we have a bad day, we have a bad day. They're all proud athletes. They want to be good. And it happened with us last year when we have not young guys, certain veterans who were not working and playing at the level. Clayton Keller sometimes was looking at me, and I know he was looking at me, meaning, what the hell are we doing? You know, he was respectful, but I knew through his eyes, he was looking at me kind of you need to be better than that. That cannot be acceptable. And I agree with him. I was kind of, okay, we need to do something about that. And we knew we were rebuilding. We knew what we were. We accept it. We fight with it. I'm extremely proud of the way the player fought, but we had to protect that and make sure, listen, we're not here to try to be bad. We're trying to be good because we're professional. As a coach, I was doing everything I could to be well prepared for the next game and the team to be well prepared. And the player were doing the same. That's why we believe in, if we do the thing the same way than we did last year and the year before, we will be successful. When you say, okay, now we have to do it differently, well, that was wrong then. You were not doing it right.
I hate to put you on the spot here, but you're a very big boy, so I know you'll be able to handle this question. Are you concerned about Barrett Hayton? He's played 35 games at the American Hockey League level over the last 3 years, and it seems like this year, when we're expecting him to take a step forward, it seems like he's taken a step back. He's hit a little bit of a roadblock. Are you concerned?
Well, you know when he scored his first goal last year?
No.
After Christmas.
Wow.
And he scored 19. So I hope it will be well before Christmas. But he's been on that road before. I've been on that road before. Do I like it? No.
You should go into the locker room tomorrow and tell him it's January 4th.
Hey, I will arrive in the locker room dressed like Santa Claus tomorrow. No, but he will be if you knew Barrett Hayton, there's nobody more serious than Barrett Hayton. He is everything he drinks, everything he eats, everything he breathes is hockey. He is too serious. He lives with Clayton Keller and Kels is super driven, and Kels said, he keep me in line because this guy never cheats on anything.
Wow,
and that's
good.
Barrett Hayton. And
he's
the guy. He's the first guy on the ice last. he's the kind of guy I have to meet every year to say, okay, you need to do less. Like, your workload is too high. You need to practice less. You need to settle down a little bit. So that's very different. So my worry, no, but we need him. We need him badly. We need him to start producing. Okay, he's really important. He's playing on our first power play, first line. He's playing PK for us. He's one of the guys I trust the most in the team. But his production is not right. He will produce more than that. We know when the floodgate will open, that will pour. But we cannot wait to start pouring.
Players in their rookie season, I won't keep you for much longer, 18, 19 years of age, at one point they hit a wall. It's a very long season. Anaheim has adopted with the load management philosophy vis-a-vis Leo Carlson. Is that something that you're looking at for Logan Cooley?
Nope, absolutely no. Because I think Logan eventually will have to play 82 games and be wear down and be able to play when he's mentally exhausted. And that is, you can tell him that as much as you want. He needs to go through it. So I have no doubt Leo Carlson will go through it this year as well, because I will manage his load, but still at some point, it's the best league in the world. It's the intensity of every game mentally is, if you've never been there, it's tough to understand how much is demanding. So eventually, mentally, he will get tired. Same thing for Logan, and we will manage him then. That's the way we will do it. When we'll feel he hits the wall, we'll try to manage him to give him a chance to breathe a little bit. But hopefully, he will surprise us.
I'm not going to ask you what you would do with Uri Slavkovsky, because he's not on your team, and that would put you in a bad spot. So this is what I'm going to do, okay? I'm going to ask you, if you had a player that you drafted first overall who was about 6'4", 230 pounds, and was playing in his second season and only had one assist after 10 games and was having a really hard time with defensive zone coverage, was having a hard time manufacturing offense, was having a hard time establishing chemistry with his line mates, wasn't able to get on the first two waves of the power play either, what would you do with a player like that? Not that I'm mentioning anybody's name, of course, because I have so much respect for you. I'd never put you in a bad spot. You know,
no, never. I love you. No, I know you're such a great guy. You will never do that. I'm not inside their dressing room. I never talked to the young guy. I have no clue how. I think, there's a quote in our video room, and I really like that quote. It's from John Wooden. He said, "It's not everybody can be treated the same way, because it's not everybody who earn the same thing. You need to work for what you get. Trust is earned. And it's not everybody who earn the same level of trust." So I don't know about this young guy or another guy in another team. There's for anybody, any coach in the league can watch our team and say, why the hell this guy played that much? You just talk about Barrett Hayton. You're probably wondering why this guy played 20 minutes a night. He doesn't have a point in whatever 9-10 game. No, but inside, you ask any of our players, they know the answer. They know how hard he works and what kind of animal we have there, and everybody loves him, and the coach loves him, and everybody understands. But from the outside, the question you asked me today, there's a reporter from Phoenix who asked me yesterday. So from the outside, it's normal you have that question. But from the inside, we know the answer. So if you want to know the answer at your question, you should ask someone in the inside. You probably have the answer, but I cannot have the answer because I'm on the outside.
I understand that. Unfortunately, I haven't come on the podcast yet because we only live 15 kilometers away. But you that lives 10,000 kilometers away, you have. I got two more very quick ones, okay? So I'll make this one easy for you. Let's take a big player that I just talked about, okay? Let's just take a big player. Usually when a player is bigger and stronger than his peers before the National Hockey League, they tend to dominate, right? Because they get by in athleticism, they get by in physicality, but at the expense of using their hockey brain, because they get by on their physicality and their athleticism. So now they have to exercise that hockey brain. Now you have Clayton Keller. He's a small guy. Canadians have Cole Caulfield. He's a small guy. Nick Suzuki's 5'11". He's not the biggest player in the league either. Their hockey brain is elite because they've always been smaller than maybe most of the players on the ice. So they've always had to use that all the time for them to get by. So they'll always have an advantage on that other players, and that'll always be their strength. But a player who's big and strong that got by, that didn't exercise that, what are some of the things that can be done to exercise that? And would a lower league actually help him or hurt him? Because the lower league will give him more time and space to think, but you actually want him to think faster because he's going to need to in the big league.
Again, I will make sure to mention I'm not talking about Slafkovsky. I'm talking here I've been a scout for a long time. So let's say as a scout, there's player who were now known to be man-child, and when they will arrive in the NHL will not be the same because they will not dominate physically. It's true that happened. That is true. There's as well the player who was so smart, was not necessarily a great skater, that was not physical, but was so smart. We thought, he will go by, he will make it to the NHL because he's so smart. And when he arrived at the NHL, stronger, other smart guy, great, bigger, faster, the guys never make it. And there's the player who could not skate but was big and smart, and we thought he will make it in the NHL because he's so big and he's so smart, and could not make it. So there's whatever it's always example the old say, after Christmas the small guy disappear. Oh yeah, did you ever see Sidney Crosby disappear? Did you ever see that? I never see that.
No.
I don't think he's 6 foot. Well, Patrick Kane did not disappear that much in the playoff when they won Stanley Cup, there's exception. There's exception in both. I can name you big guy who
Marty St. Louis didn't disappear.
Marty St. Louis. There we go.
Yeah.
And at the reverse, he was really good in the playoff. And you have big guy. Example, Vincent Lecavalier had unbelievable playoffs some years, and other years he was terrible. But what? Now, if you're a big guy and you're terrible after Christmas, it's not about big or small. It's not every year you have a good year, and it's not every year it clicks. And whatever your size, your speed, or it's situational. It's not always the same pattern. It's just some people like big players. So as soon you have a small player has a bad stretch after Christmas. The small guy cannot play after Christmas. And then you have the other guy who loves skill who say, this big guy cannot play when there's no time and space or whatever. So I'm not in that pattern. I think for me, each player should be treated individually, and it's not one way to develop a player. There's not one way to judge a player. Yeah. I think you need to have an open mind for development.
Yeah, what could be done to exercise the brain on a player that hadn't exercised it that much prior to the NHL?
I think it's first of all, the player has to want to improve it and everything. But that's John Madden here said something I really find interesting. If you have a player, let's say on scale to 1 to 5, if he's a 2, you will not make him a 3. You will make him a 2.5. But that's it. You won't name me a guy who arrived in the league at below average hockey sense, and when he retired, he was above average hockey sense. That doesn't happen. There's player who arrive in the league, and you say, they don't have enough hockey sense, and then a couple of years later, you say, okay, they're average. Their hockey sense is fair. Well, they don't become above average. So that, and same thing on your skating. Mark Stone, when he arrived in the league, could not. His skating was an issue, let's say. Yeah. Well, now his skating is not his strength. He go by. His average. His brain is elite, but his skating is not elite. His brain was elite, remained elite. He improved his skating like by 0.5, something like that, but he did not become an elite skater. Same thing for Ryan O'Reilly or other guy. So I think you can improve the brain by 0.5, but you cannot improve by 5 points. I don't believe that. And I think to develop, it's always I second guess myself on that. Let's say the guy has a pattern who he's doing wrong at the lower level, and you bring him on the next level because you want to break that pattern. If you send him back in the lower level, Will he go back in his old pattern and be a man-child and beat the guys because he's stronger and bigger than everybody? Or will he improve his read? I don't know.
His confidence will improve.
His confidence will improve. I totally agree with you, but that's not the question you asked me.
No.
You asked me, will he improve his decision-making? I don't know. Maybe he will go back and he will go back in his old habit. And I don't know. I don't know the answer.
Only one way to find out, I guess. I've kept you here so long on your night off. Every time I get you on, I always tell you the same thing, right? Coach, I kept you on so long, but I feel guilty. But it seems like the conversation comes very, very easy for us when we do it. So time flies when you're having fun. So in 30 seconds, I'll give you 30 seconds to answer this last one. Just tell me something about Logan Cooley, because every year there's young players that come into the league and they excite me, right? And this year for me, it's him. And he excites me. Like I watch him play. Some days I think I see a little bit of Patrick Kane. I watch him play. Sometimes I think I see a little bit of Denis Savard. I don't know. I got so many names going through my mind, but I do know that every player that I think of that reminds me of him was a very good player, and they excited me too back in the day. So what can you tell me about this kid?
What I will say, you know his skill, you know his speed, you know a lot about him. He really have an edge. He's really gritty. He has pushed back, and he's super competitive. That's what excited me, because I knew he had skill, and
he's a real one.
He has fun.
He's a real one.
You know, and he's the quiet one. He's not the vocal one. He doesn't talk. He doesn't say boo. He smiles, but he doesn't say much. But he cares a lot, and he's super competitive. I like that.
Coach, this has been a treat for everyone watching. As a matter of fact, I'll ask everyone watching on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, and Twitter Live, if you loved listening and watching Andre Tourigny right now, comment sick, S-I-C-K, S-I-C-K, S-I-C-K. He is the head coach of the Arizona Coyotes, and I know he has a job right now, obviously, but, you know, I hope one day we'll see him a little bit closer to home. One day. Maybe even here at home, of course, is what I'm talking about. But right now, he's with the Arizona Coyotes, and they're very lucky to have him. And Montreal Canadiens fans are very lucky to have Martin St. Louis, because I like him very much as well. Coach, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Tony.
All right. Good luck.
Have a good
week.
week.
All right. Merci beaucoup. All right. There you have it. Andre Tourigny. All right. Okay. We have another guest who's coming up. I've been in communication with him. Okay. Here we go. We are good to go. I just text him. Okay. Join now. All right. Okay. Here we go. And it looks like he's going to join us any second now. As a matter of fact, there he is. I had a chance. I came across a series of tweets. I'm not going to lie to you, earlier today, courtesy of Jordan Schmaltz, who's a former NHLer, and they caught my interest. And I said, "Can I get you on the podcast?" And he said yes. It was very short notice, so I appreciate him doing this. Let's bring him in. Former NHLer Jordan Schmaltz. How you doing, bud?
What's up, brother? How you doing? Long-time listener, also a first-time caller. So how we doing?
Long-time listener, first-time caller. Is this actually, are you serious, or just one of those lines?
No, I'm just one of those lines, brother. Thank you for having me on the show.
I was getting all excited. I'm like, where did he end up listening to me, considering that he's a Wisconsin boy? Are you not, or?
Yeah, I am. Just outside of Madison, I'm originally from. I live in Arizona now, down here in Scottsdale. But yes, originally from Madison, Wisconsin, just outside.
All right. Why don't we do this for those who aren't familiar or weren't familiar with your career? Let's bring up your hockey DB if we can.
Yeah, pull her up. See what we got.
There we go. And there you have it. Jordan Schmaltz was a former first-round pick, 25th overall, back in the 2020 draft, courtesy of the St. Louis Blues. Played in the USHL, WCHA, NCHC, American Hockey League. Then started with the Blues, played his first games in 2016-17, back down to the American Hockey League, back up to the National Hockey League over 2 seasons, and then back down to the American Hockey League. And then you'll notice HIFK Helsinki 2021-2022. So why is that interesting? Well, Juraj Slavkovsky, who's been much in the news as of late and all over social media. And by the way, folks, For those who are watching, for those who are listening, for those who had a chance to see what I wrote or hear what I said on social media, it's if we think the kid should go down to the American Hockey League, it doesn't mean we're picking on the kid, and it doesn't mean we don't like the kid, because I can tell you right now, I love the kid, but if I think he should go to the American Hockey League, it's because I like him so much. I think that's where he can rediscover his confidence. That's where he can work on some of the things, and when he comes up, he'll be more ready. That's my opinion. Now, it's not because I didn't play or I didn't coach that it means I'm wrong, and it doesn't mean I'm right. So it's just, let's get that out of the way, because a lot of people got very sensitive. They got mad at me today because, why are you picking on the kid? If I say he's got to go to Laval, doesn't mean I'm picking on him. It means I'm trying to help him. All right, Jordan, you have a chance to say now what you tweeted. You played against Slavkovsky. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, so I was kind of ended my career right over here. And before that season, the 2021 season, I was in Tucson. It was, post-pandemic. Signed an American Hockey League deal with the Coyotes farm team in Tucson. So I finished out that year. It was kind of at a crossroads for me, if you kind of back it up, just, going up and down from the minors to the NHL. I was a healthy scratch a lot of the times with St. Louis and could never really find my footing, even though I was a high pick. So what did I do? I wanted to change it up. I was kind of burnt out of playing in the American Hockey League. It was looking like I was probably going to have to sign, a lower two-way or AHL deal for the following year. So I ended up going over to Helsinki and playing for a coach that played a little bit in the NHL, Billy Peltonen. So I was playing in Helsinki. Slavkovsky was playing for TPS Turku, which is a team about an hour and a half just to the west of Helsinki. And we actually ended up playing them in a playoff series, a 7-game series. And then I probably saw him 5 or 7 times throughout the year, just in the regular season. And I thought every time we played against him, he was a kid that was progressively getting better. I thought, even coming back from the Olympics, he had a little bit more confidence, because I think he struggled early on, which rightfully so. He was a young player. He was 17 years old, playing in a pretty good, pro hockey league in terms of playing against men. So I thought throughout that year, he got better, but I still thought that, there were some holes or issues in his game that, despite being a physical freak, that there was some things he needed to work on. And for me, I didn't know that draft class that well, right? Because I was probably 10 years older than a lot of these kids. So
yeah, of course,
I was able to see him, and I thought he was a physical specimen. I thought he could skate pretty well in a straight line. I just thought he was pretty raw. And then the other night I watched him at Mullet, the arena here in Phoenix, because my brother's on the team, obviously, and I go to quite a few Coyotes games. I just thought, there hadn't been a whole lot of progression up until this point. And man, the NHL is a hard league. It's hard to play in that league. And I just think, for me, I think if I was, in that Montreal war room or with their brass, which I'm not, I'm a guy just sitting here bullshitting, but yeah. I think, he would,
your brother's a good player, by the way.
Yeah. I just think a kid like that would really benefit from, going down to the American Hockey League, trying to get that confidence back, get those reps. Play on the power play where it's a little slower. The guys aren't as, big, fast, stronger. It's cliche, but I just thought, in terms of where his development is at, I think it's kind of, halted, and he's probably lost a lot of confidence. I think, going down to the American Hockey League, that's not to discredit where he could end up being, right? I just think right now with where his game is at, I think, that could be a really good thing to, get him over the hump and really, work with him down there with the development staff.
So he was in Finland. He obviously could have stayed in Finland. They could have kept him there. They chose to bring him to the National Hockey League. Would you have kept him in Finland, or would you have brought him to Laval last year?
Yeah, that's a hard question, right? Because again, who am I to say, right? Like I've had a cup of Joe in the NHL, and I was a guy that, was not, I don't think I was a bust, but I was a guy that probably should have played a little bit longer if you look at where I was drafted. So it's hard to say. The kid was 17, 18 years old. You want them to be comfortable. What could he have been better off playing in the American Hockey League last year, or, maybe even in a major junior league? I'm not sure, because again, he's a first overall pick playing in a Canadian market. You want to get that kid into your system and up and coming, right, with a team that has a young core and they're trying to build. And, he's a cornerstone piece of what they want to, or like where they want to go and what they want to be. So I don't know. It's hard to say. Hindsight's always 20/20. For him, I think just if you're looking at it right now, I think, maybe a month or two in the AHL would really go a long way, just to kind of slow things down, take a little heat off him, and really get back to his game, because, you're still wanting this player to have a long career and be a really big piece of your team moving forward, right? I mean, he's still only 2 years into a young career. Like, the kid's 19 or 20 years old. So what are we really talking about? I'm just thinking, if you're thinking in the short term, I think that would probably be the best option right now for him.
Yeah. It's such a difficult question, right? Because for as many examples you could give me of kids who went down to the American Hockey League who were struggling in their first 2 seasons in the National Hockey League, and then it did them some good when they got called back up, I could give you that many examples of kids who started their NHL career and were not producing very much the first couple of years, and then just got better and better and better. So it's such a difficult question to tackle, this whole development question. And everyone in Montreal and every Canadiens fan and every member of the media right there has an opinion on Slafkovsky. Earlier today, Maxime Lapierre, who's a former Montreal Canadian, said, folks, everyone's all over this kid. I mean, patience. He's 19 years old. He's in his second season, in the National Hockey League. He's being coached by a Hall of Famer. His general manager was one of the most respected agents in the game. There's highly qualified people around him. There's a development team who probably know more than us. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not going to be wrong, right? I mean, that's the whole caveat and all. But he was saying, let's have confidence in them. It's just that with every game that he's not producing, the fans are looking at him and they're saying, he looks a little bit faster, but I don't see him improving in other areas. And now, add to that, with every time we see Cooley, and Cooley's making a difference, now we start talking about that, and it just seems like to add up, right?
Yeah, and I think every player's trajectory is different. I mean, I think some guys take a little bit longer to develop. I think some guys, benefit from just stepping in and maybe they have a different mindset. There's a whole mental side of the game. There's a whole, even situation, right? Cooley steps into a market like Arizona, which is a lot smaller and a lot less pressure than a place like Montreal. Cooley also played last year in college when was able to gain a lot of confidence from that, putting up about 60 points. And, Slavkovsky goes right into a organization that's trying to rebuild, and they're a struggling young team. So there's just so much that goes into it. And I think you can't get lost in the fact that he is still so young. There's, a long runway for him to kind of get going and make his own mark. I just think right now, when I watched that game last night, and that's all I can really speak on because I watched the game live, and I just think last night, in terms of if you're going off of that, and I don't know what he did, in the previous 7 or 8 games, but from what I read, he's been struggling a little bit. It just seems that he's a little bit lost out there. And then you start playing power play and you got, all these different responsibilities. I think it can kind of just add up and weigh on a kid. And then you have
overwhelming.
Yes, yeah. And you have the media pressure. And I just think you start to lose that confidence. And that's what the biggest thing is. You don't want to lose your confidence. And as a young player, especially, I think just slowing it down, getting out of the spotlight for a little bit, going to Laval. Maybe it's only just, a weekend. Maybe he goes down for 3 games and he puts up 7 or 8 points, and all of a sudden he's back up and he feels good about himself again, So I just think there's a lot of things that go into it, and it's hard to say what the right way is to do it. Because again, you have a guy like Martin St. Louis and all these, Hockey Hall of Famers surrounded by him. What's really the correct answer? It's hard. And so I'm rooting for the kid. I think he can be a good player. I think, what his ceiling is. I don't know if it's like a perennial number 1 overall pick, but, we'll see. And I really hope he can kind of find his game and, kind of develop into a power forward.
What if the American Hockey League team is struggling? Would that at all weigh into this whole equation here of whether or not you send them down or not?
I think that's up to, management, but I think in terms of just, if there's a couple forwards down there he could play with and get in for a weekend, get in for, a 3 and 4.
Elias Anderson and Joshua Roy, first line in Laval. That would be good.
There you go. So you go play down there, feel the puck on the power play, play all situations, slow it down a little bit. Just get back to the basics, get back to your foundation as a player. Maybe even, watch a little bit more video, practice a little more. The American Hockey League, at least in my experiences, was more of a weekend league. You're not playing every other day. So you can kind of slow things down. You can get more video work, maybe get, some more reps in with the development team and really just, build this kid back up. Because I think right now, like I said last night, I'm only going off of last night, he just looked a little bit lost. And I think, for a player that they have really high hopes for, you got to be careful with that.
I want your brother on the Montreal Canadiens to play right wing with Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki.
Oh, he can dish the pill, man. He's a great player. Oh, crispy.
He's a very good player. He's a very good player. You're right about
him and Clayton Keller have really good chemistry. And I think
they do.
This Logan Cooley, once he starts getting about halfway through the season here and really making his mark in the league and kind of getting used to the pace of play and playing every other night, that's going to be a force of a line, man. I think that could be a really good line for years to come if they can all stay healthy. When
you said you saw Slavkovsky 6 or 7 times during the season in Finland, and then you saw him in the playoffs,
yep.
And you thought that every time you saw him, he was getting better, but he was raw.
Very raw, yep.
What did you think was the most raw part of his game?
If I'm being honest, I think just his computer, like going back to my tweet, just in terms of his brain was, I thought it was, because you're a young kid, so it's hard to, really evaluate a player when they're playing in a professional hockey league, such as Finland, which is a good respected league. He did seem to get a little better every time we played against him. I think that, Olympic kind of outbreak really helped him in terms of leading his team to a bronze medal with Slovakia. But in saying that, I just thought normally when a pick is a 1 overall pick, at least in my experiences, in my eye, and I'm not saying I'm Scotty Bowman over here, but
neither am I.
I'm just saying that normally something would wow you, right? As a number 1 overall pick. And maybe it was a down year for the draft. I just didn't really see a whole lot of that in terms of his brain. His body was crazy.
His body was wow.
I was like, oh my God, this guy's he's a freight train. And when he gets downhill and he can skate, he's pretty good down the wall. Now, can he make a whole lot of plays? I didn't really see that. And I'm still kind of seeing that. And that's why when I fired out that tweet, which was kind of just being harmless, his development just seems like it's kind of at a standstill. In the National Hockey League is a hard league. I mean, it's the best league in the world. So, it's just tough. And
on the contrary, and it's not to make Slavkovsky look bad, because once again, at 19 years old, he can go on to have a great career. And who's to say who's going to end up being better? I have my opinion. You have your opinion, and we'll end up seeing it about 15 years from now. But Logan Cooley has some wow factors. He's got wow speed.
Yep.
He's got some wow passing ability. He's a wow playmaker.
Yep.
Andre Tourigny just came on and talked to us about his wow grit, that this kid he's a gamer. He wants it. He's got a lot of wow to him.
Yeah, I mean, I just think I go back to that play last night when Nick Schmaltz, my brother, passed it over Clayton Keller on the power play. They run that drop breakout. They're coming through the dot lanes, and Keller fired it out to Cooley, and it was a saucer pass that was about 3 feet out of the air. And Cooley knocks it down mid-stride, doesn't even phase him, continues to skate, gets his head up, takes a look to the middle, and sees number 8 streaking down to the far post. I'm like, that's National League, brother, because that was a sick play. That is a high-end skill set. And for me,
high eye-hand coordination, and you just said it, head up. And if his head's up, he's not seeing.
And he didn't break stride. That's the crazy thing. He had a defender on him. He was able to bat that out of the air, catch it, get his head up, beat the defender with a step, and then find my brother on the back door. I mean, I'm thinking in the stands, I'm like, holy fuck, this guy, I mean, he's the real deal. That's a National League play right there, because you don't see that type of play on a kid that's played 9 or 10 games, let alone most players in the league. I'm thinking, holy shit, here, fella.
You're really comfortable with this. Are you podcasting right now?
I am, yeah.
Give it a shout out, I
got a podcast. It's called Live in 5. I run it with my buddy I played at North Dakota with. So check us out there. And then I'm also doing.
What do you guys talk about?
Yeah, it's like a lifestyle podcast. It's hockey based, all sports. We've had golfers on, PGA guys. We've had, my buddy like Jordan Binnington on. We've had, hockey players, golfers, just kind of everything. And then I do an
Arizona Coyotes podcast. If I was you, I mean, you got some pretty good inside there.
Yeah, I actually do. I do a hockey night in Scottsdale with my buddy, the Heat Daddy, on Twitter. So he's a personality if you've seen him.
Yeah.
So we do a show once a week where we watch a game, we stream it, and then we're going to be touring a couple cities here coming up in Canada, maybe Buffalo, different things like that. So we're getting out there, we're getting boots on the ground, brother, and trying to spread the love of the game because I love the game, I love skilled players, and ultimately kind of want to stay in it on this side of the pond. So that's
good for you.
My next mission.
All the best to you. And ending, how much hate did you get from Montreal Canadiens fans today? Because it
was crazy. I forgot about Canadian media, man, and just people on Twitter. I'm like thinking, like, I'm not trying to bury this kid. Like, I want to make it clear, like, I want this guy to succeed. I'm just saying right now, from where he is and where he was 2 years ago, there's not much different. And I think the best thing for this kid, as I call it, get down to the jungle, get your feet wet and get back to basics of where your game's at and build it back up. Because it's not like this is an end all be all. I mean, you can fix a player. You really can. You just need to work with them, and they need the right words coming into in their brain and build them up again. So I wish the best for him.
Do you get the feeling, and I think I told you it was the last question, but do you get the feeling that the Canadiens drafted a guy who was hot for 5 months?
But wasn't he the consensus number 1 overall pick when Shane Wright slipped? I think everyone after that Olympics got so, can I say this on the show? I think everyone got so horny. They're like, we just need this guy. We need this guy. And then Shane Wright kind of fell. And then Cooley was just kind of on the back burner chilling. And was there really a first overall pick that year? I mean, we'll see, like, if Cooley, really blossoms into what people think he is, or if Slafkovsky can get back on track, or if Shane Wright can figure it out. I mean, he's another kid that's playing in the AHL now too. So it's like, I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, again, hindsight's always 20/20. It's easy to look back. And I think right now you just got to be delicate with it because, again, they're only 2 years into this thing, and we'll see how it goes. But again, I just wish the best for that kid.
Jordan Schmaltz, the first time ever on the Sick Podcast with me, Tony Marinaro. I hope it's not the last. Are you at your brother's house right now?
I am. We had a nice little meal here. He's got a matinee tomorrow against the Winnipeg Jets. So
when you get off, tell him that I want him on the podcast between now and the end of the season. He can pick whenever time he wants. At one point,
I will, brother. I will.
All right. Thank you, man, for doing this. I appreciate it. All right, there you have it, Jordan Schmaltz. All right. I saw his tweet earlier today, and I'm like, wow, I got to get this guy on. He was definitely worth it. Have a good night. Appreciate it. Okay. Once again, Marinaro. Folks, Monday we were off because the Canadiens played a 10 o'clock game in Vegas. And, of course, last night, Thursday, we were off because the Montreal Canadiens played a 10 o'clock game in Arizona. And, I thought if I was going to go on, I was going to go on at 1 o'clock in the morning. And I didn't think there was going to be too many people on at 1 o'clock in the morning. And so I promised that I was going to make it up to you. So I called Agnello yesterday and I said, Agnello, I was off on Monday. I was off on Thursday. I'm working Friday. And so I decided to work it. And then once again, I contacted Andre Tourigny, and then I contacted Jordan Schmaltz. And I think it was a pretty awesome show. I hope you agree. If so, like it, share it with your friends. Comment SICK, 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 SICK. Proud partners of the SICK Podcast are Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America, driven to be different. Also brought to you in part by La Bitte TB, brewed in Quebec, a winner of a dozen international awards. La Bitte TB offers quality microbrewery beers made with premium ingredients for everyone's taste. La Bitte TB, embrace your true nature. And brought to you in part by Playground. Over 600 machines, poker tournaments, and Playground casino games, daily promotions, and unmatched customer service. Why go anywhere else? Located just over the Mercier Bridge, only minutes from downtown Montreal. Speaking of La Bitte at TB, speaking of, tomorrow at the IGA Extra in Saint-Eustache at 379 Boulevard Arthur Sauvé, starting at 2 p.m., I will be there. Agnello and Sammy Cavallaro will be there. We're celebrating hockey with you. La Bitte TV, the Sick Podcast, and IG Extra. They're very proud to bring you the chance to meet me. I'm very proud to have the chance to meet you, and I look forward to talking to you, talking hockey with you. There's going to be some beer sampling. We're going to give out some T-shirts. We're going to give out some caps. I want to see you all there tomorrow. If you're in the area, because as much as I can feel you when you watch me on the podcast and the Sick Podcast, and you listen to me in the Sick Podcast on all the social media apps, as much as I can feel it, feel your presence, For me, meeting all of you, it's very important to me and it's very special to me. And I love meeting all of you and talking hockey with you and talking Montreal Canadiens with you. I really love it. So if you're in the area, drop by. If you're not in the area, drop by. All right. If you're in the United States, come down to Montreal tomorrow. Go to St. Eustache and drop by. Okay, maybe not from the States. I'm kidding a little bit. For Agnello, Sammy, and Juliana at Master Control, they're Cavallaro, and it's Friday night. But tonight, I was working it. I'm Marinaro.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. Lobby.tv, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.